I never imagined that a casual piece of advice from a friend could completely upend my life. My wife, Rachel, had always been adventurous in ways that were safe and controlled: weekend trips, spontaneous dinners, even the occasional night out with her close friends. But recently, something had changed. She started confiding more in her divorced friend, Melissa, who had a reputation for bold, sometimes reckless ideas. I always sensed a little danger in Melissa's influence, but I trusted Rachel's judgment, or at least, I thought I did. It started innocently enough. One evening, Rachel called me while I was working late. Her voice sounded nervous but excited. "Melissa gave me this advice," she said, almost in a whisper. "She said I should just have fun. Enjoy life more. Don't be so uptight." I laughed softly over the phone. "Sounds harmless," I replied. "Fun is good. Just don't get into trouble." She giggled, a little embarrassed, but I reassured her it was fine. I didn't think much of it at the time. I believed in trust and freedom within a marriage. I never imagined that having fun would mean crossing lines I had assumed were unbreakable. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small changes. Rachel started dressing differently for nights out, arriving home later, and talking about people and experiences I had never met or heard of. I asked her about it casually, and she insisted it was harmless: new friends, new experiences, nothing serious. I wanted to believe her, but my instincts whispered warnings I tried to ignore. Then came the day that shattered my complacency. Rachel came home unusually quiet, holding her purse tightly, eyes avoiding mine. I greeted her, trying to lighten the mood, but she didn't respond. Instead, she sat down slowly, taking a deep breath, as if bracing for impact. I have to tell you something," she said, her voice trembling. My stomach dropped. Something in her tone told me this wasn't trivial. "What is it?" I asked gently, though my heart was already racing. "I'm pregnant," she admitted, the words barely escaping her lips. "And it might not be yours." I froze. My mind couldn't process the sentence immediately. My wife, the woman I trusted completely, might be carrying another man's child? The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "What do you mean, it might not be mine?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though inside I was burning with shock, anger, and fear. She broke down, tears streaming down her face. "I took Melissa's advice too far," she whispered. I had fun, and it was a mistake. I didn't think, it just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you." I felt a wave of emotions crash over me: betrayal, disbelief, heartbreak, and an almost surreal numbness. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with had acted impulsively under someone else's guidance, and now the consequences were undeniable. I needed clarity. I asked her everything: the timeline, the circumstances, and the identity of the man. She hesitated, ashamed, but eventually admitted that it had been a brief encounter, a single lapse in judgment inspired by a desire for fun, as Melissa had suggested. She didn't try to defend it. She didn't make excuses. She just sat there, terrified, fully aware of the gravity of what she had done. The next days were unbearable. I spent hours in silence, walking through our apartment, replaying memories, trying to reconcile the woman I knew with the choices she had made. I felt anger, but I also felt a strange sense of responsibility to my own values, to the marriage I thought I had, and to the future that now hung in uncertainty. Eventually, I insisted we see a doctor together, to confirm the pregnancy and discuss the options. Sitting in the sterile room, the reality hit me harder than ever. Rachel was scared, yes, but I was furious, not just at her, but at the influences that had led her to this point, and at the betrayal of trust that could never be undone. We talked for hours afterward, navigating a labyrinth of emotions: love, anger, fear, disappointment, and the faintest glimmers of hope. Rachel apologized repeatedly, and I listened, trying to separate the person I loved from the decisions she had made. I realized that forgiveness was a possibility, but trust had to be rebuilt, and that would be the hardest part. I decided to get a paternity test as soon as possible. Not out of malice, but to ensure that whatever path we chose, whether reconciliation or separation, was based on truth, not assumption. Rachel agreed, trembling, and I promised her that whatever the outcome, honesty would guide our next steps. When the results came back, confirming that I was the father, I felt a whirlwind of relief and confusion. Relief that our child was indeed mine, but confusion about the fragility of trust and how easily a single piece of advice could lead to life-altering consequences. Rachel was beside herself, a mix of terror and relief, apologizing again, promising she would never let outside influence dictate her choices like that again. I realized then that love and marriage are complex, delicate structures that require constant care, communication, and boundaries. Trust is not a guarantee. It must be nurtured, defended, and respected. One misguided attempt at fun had nearly destroyed everything we had built. In the end, we chose to face the consequences together. We sought counseling, rebuilt our communication, and established clear boundaries to prevent such a lapse from ever happening again. Rachel remained terrified of her actions, and I remained wary, but we also shared a newfound determination to protect our marriage and our family. That experience changed me. It taught me that marriage isn't just about love, it's about accountability, mutual respect, and making choices that honor each other. Rachel's moment of weakness could have destroyed us, but it didn't. Not yet. And now, with a child on the way, we had a chance to rebuild, cautiously, carefully, and honestly. I never forgot Melissa's words, but I also never forgot the lesson they taught me. Freedom without responsibility can be dangerous, and trust, once broken, is one of the hardest things to restore.